Alright, I'm gonna do this whole thing in one take. Here are my top 5 and bottom 5 releases of 2023. The 5th worst release of the year is CMF2 by Corey Taylor. This easily wins the award for ugliest album cover of 2023. Musically, it feels like a definite improvement over the previous album, but when the previous album had CMFT Must Be Stopped, the goalposts for achieving that are a galaxy apart. As long as you kick the ball, it'll probably go in. Unfortunately, Corey Taylor's kicking around a ball made of crap, and now the whole field is covered in piles of shit, and he wants us to fucking eat it. The 5th best release of 2023 is Copenhagen Cowboy. I really need to watch the rest of Nicholas Winding Refn because this and Drive are absolutely amazing. Copenhagen Cowboy is like a supernatural, like Western, neo-Western crime show set in the modern day. And I will say that the audio design and visuals on this are absolutely excellent. And there's a great musical score that goes along with it. Refn makes great use of his neon lighting trademark. And I thought that the 360-degree circulating camera shots were imaginative and implemented masterfully. I seriously hope this gets another season because it sets so many things up and it all seems really, really cool. But with auteur-driven shows like 1899 already being canceled by Netflix, I'm not sure we'll get another season. But this really was an amazing TV show, and if it ends here, it'll be sad, but it was fantastic what we got. The 4th worst release of 2023 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. As a massive DC fan, I had such high hopes for the DCEU, and while it started out strong with Man of Steel and BVS, and while it contains other great films like Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, I almost said the Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad and The Flash, it is definitely ending with maybe the biggest whimper of all. This is the final nail in the DCEU coffin, and I find it crazy that James Wan made the best horror movie in years with Malignant, and it's just sandwiched in between the worst superhero movies of the past, like, when did the Dark Knight come out? 15 years ago. So the past 15 years, he just makes, like, the worst superhero movies and just fucking nails it with Malignant. So, I mean, that's kind of just, I feel like James Wan's in his wheelhouse when he's doing horror, and he always feels a bit lost when he tries this superhero shit. If you liked the first Aquaman, you'll probably like this because it's kind of just more of the exact same. And I find both movies just completely boring and pointless. So I would recommend skipping this one. And my 4th best release of the year, I just mentioned it. And I know it's on some people's worst lists I've seen. But for me, it's fantastic. It's The Flash. Between Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2, it was a rough final year for the DCEU. It's a cinematic universe that has failed to maintain consistency over its 10-year run, not unlike the MCU. And like the MCU, the DCU has some great films, but it also has some terrible films, and everything in between. But for me, The Flash is the best non-Snyder entry into the DCEU canon. It is an emotional, funny, and entertaining film that combines some of the best elements of the DCU. We see Michael Shannon's General Zod return, as well as Ben Affleck's Batman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and some cool extended DC callbacks with Michael Keaton and, spoiler for the end, but George Clooney. Andy Muschietti's direction here, I think, is the real hero, as he elevates the emotional and comedic elements of each scene appropriately. It feels measured and controlled in a way that most superhero films don't, and even blockbuster films in general usually just don't feel this masterfully directed. I'm very much looking forward to what he can achieve with his upcoming Batman film. So for me, I consider the final DCEU canon to be Snyder's trilogy plus The Flash. So my number 3 worst release of 2023, and this is probably by far my most controversial pick, but it's Oppenheimer. This is making a lot of people's best of the year list. It's winning a lot of awards. But of all the horror viewing experiences I've had this year, with things like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Velma, The Meg 2, what else? The Last Voyage of the Demeter was absolutely abysmal. None of them were as headache-inducing and as insufferable for me as Oppenheimer. It was all just headache inducing. And I guess this is how some people experience the films of Terrence Malick, the way that it kind of is very floaty in the way that it's edited and it's moving between all these different scenes, kind of in a non-linear way, it feels like. But where Malick's impressionistic touch speaks warmly and softly of the human experience, and that is reflected in his subject matter, I think that it feels inappropriate in Oppenheimer, and I think Nolan's form fails to conjure up anything worth feeling or thinking about, on top of a story that, with characters that are very difficult to sympathize with. And so I feel like it was a really weird choice to make a biopic about the maker of the atomic bomb in this way. I really never want to see this movie again. Nolan's films usually aren't for me, although Tenet was fantastic. But my number 3 best release of the year is Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. I played Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time last year, right around the summertime. With a rough launch, I wanted to wait until it was in a proper state so I could give it the attention I thought it maybe deserved, although I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. But I ended up getting completely swept away in it. After completing 2 100% playthroughs, one as a female nomad and one as a male corpo, I excitedly awaited for Phantom Liberty to drop. When it came out, I beat it with both of my save files, 100%ing the expansion each time and obtaining every possible ending. With the 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty, I think that Cyberpunk 2077 may be my favorite single-player game of all time. An unbelievable world with an engaging story, deeply humanist themes, and some of the greatest characters I've ever experienced in a work of fiction. The last time that I got this swept up in a story-based video game, I think was maybe Persona 4 Golden around the time that came out. But for me, Cyberpunk 2077 is a life-changing work, and Phantom Liberty is reflective of the game at its best, for the most part. There's some things that I prefer in the original game and some kind of moments I didn't love in Phantom Liberty, but overall, this 30-hour experience that I was willing to beat twice, 100%, it's honest. I didn't really play many games this year, but it's my game of the year easily, and I'm really looking forward to whatever CD Projekt Red does next, and I really need to play the Witcher trilogy, because I've started all 3 games and I've never finished any of them. Alright, time for my number 2 worst of the year. It's The Brave 2 by Ronald MacDonald and Adam Clown. And while CMF2 had the ugliest album cover of 2023, this is the worst album cover of 2023. It's not quite as ugly because honestly the color scheme is pretty nice. It reminds me of Spider-Man, but it's a Spider-Man that only cares about white people, straight people, and patriots. And oh yeah, he doesn't shoot webs, he shoots people with his fucking guns. Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. My number 2 best release of the year, WWE's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. From the Tribal Court on Raw's XXX, to Zayn's face turn at Royal Rumble 2023, to Zayn's hometown showdown with Reigns at Elimination Chamber, to Jay turning on Zayn on Raw, to Owens and Zayn defeating the Usos at WrestleMania 39. This is one of the greatest storylines I've witnessed in my time watching professional wrestling. And my pick is meant to encapsulate the Bloodline storyline in early 2023 as a whole, and I'm picking Elimination Chamber to represent it because I was there in Montreal in person. My number 1 worst release of the year, it is Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist. First off, fuck you, Kevin Sorbo. This movie blatantly promotes the Christian myth, far-right politics, and conspiracy theories. It is as twisted and vile and evil as a movie could possibly be. It is anti-science. It is anti-human. It is anti-logic. It is anti-anything good in this world. On top of that, the acting fucking sucks. The visuals suck. The editing sucks. The writing sucks. The characters are all idiots. Even the character, well, especially the character that they're trying to say is here's the atheist character that converts by the end. Fucking idiot. He completely gives up on his whole belief system with the tiniest bit of resistance to it, and it's fucking stupid. Kevin Sorbo, you are my enemy, and I don't know if this is worse than God's Not Dead, but it's certainly the worst thing of 2023, and fuck you, Kevin Sorbo, this fucking sucks. Stop pushing shitty beliefs and just fucking up filmmaking like this. I don't know where I was going with that. That was a really weird way to end. Anyways, the number one best release of the year, it's Barbie. It's hard to think of any other piece of media released this year, or last year at this point, that felt as big and as important as the Barbie movie. When it came to critical reception, audience reception, box office gross, and cultural impact, the Barbie movie had it all. The first trailer came out in December 2022, and I still see and hear people talking about this movie, and it's January 2024. It is a massive cultural shift when it comes to films. I've watched Barbie 14 times so far. 12 of those are in theaters. Just everything makes it pop. Everything works in tandem to make this movie pop and come to life. And while it is certainly a feminist movie, it is also a deeply existentialist movie. It may be the most life-affirming work I've experienced in years, at least since Zack Snyder's Justice League, and also something I talked about earlier, Cyberpunk 2077. I really like these types of works that are very life-affirming and very existential, and that tap really deeply into the human condition and do so in a positive way while also recognizing some of the shortcomings and flaws of humanity. Gerwig, Robbie, Gosling, and all the cast and crew that made Barbie, they all made something very important here. They all did such great work. It's a masterclass in filmmaking by Greta Gerwig. There's a lot of important themes and messages, and she brings these to the surface very well and in a thoughtful way. But it's also a blast to watch. It's not just hammering you over the head with these ideas the whole time and it's just gets caught up in the ideas. It's actually funny and emotionally engaging. And I don't think anything came close to reaching the highs of Barbie this year. It is a strong contender for my favorite work of the 2020s decade so far. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.